I remember one that had, I think, 300,000 net profits, and they suddenly ended up within a year and a half of me working with them over $1 million of net profit. So, when you start seeing these structures and you start implementing the systems, the efficiencies start happening and also start saving money.
Tibor, I guess straight off the bat, who are you and what do you do?
Guess I might as well start at the beginning. So I'm Dutch born, grew up in South Africa, hence the accent, and now I'm a Kiwi. I don't have the accent yet. Still working on that bit. So, I started off in the chartered accountancy industry, had my own business back in South Africa with 2 other business partners. And when I made the decision to move to New Zealand, I left them to it and moved out here. Started off in the chartered accountancy industry, as you will. Lo and behold, in 2001, the accounting firm that I was working for, the owner of the business suddenly passed away. And that left me thinking, where do I go next? And that's when I started my own business called Better Business Strategies. Got involved in a lot of business advisory stuff. Now, back in those days, I actually thought that I knew a lot about business. It turns out that when you're an accountant, yes, you know numbers, but you don't know the rest of the business stuff as well as you should. So I went through a journey of understanding all aspects of business and how business is built, as well as how businesses need to be structured in order to make them better businesses.
What is it about building businesses that attracts you to helping other people so much?
Yeah, I guess it's always been in my blood. So even when I was doing the chartered accountancy work where you just do tax and the financial account type stuff, I always ended up talking to business owners a bit more about their business and got them engaged a little, thinking about a bit more than just the accounting stuff. Because, in those days, it was always like, are you working for the Inland Revenue? All this tax that I have to pay. And it's like, well, maybe you should do some other investment type things in order to bring it down. But anyway, it was during that period that this love for, I guess, consulting really built itself up. And of course, when I started Better Business Strategies, I had to get more involved in that. So I did a type of dual type situation. I worked in certain clients' companies for several years to help them build up their structure, their systems, and their personnel as such, so that they can actually just take over from there. So I was sort of like in a general management type role in many of these types of businesses as such. And from there, I actually learned the key issues that most businesses struggle with.
And can you talk a bit further on them? Because I'm sure that you have seen a very large range of different businesses in different industries with different problems. What are the main problems that businesses are facing and how can they resolve those issues?
Right. So when I get involved with a business, the first thing I do is an analysis, or a total analysis of the business, which includes getting the management team to talk about all their thoughts about where the issues are. I've got a questionnaire which highlights the key issues. And then I also do a staff survey with all the key staff members and or longer. I remember one business I did many years ago. I did 65 interviews or staff survey interviews as such. And I got such a huge knowledge of the business. And what it really comes down to, Bronson, is the key issue is, business owners generally don't know how to structure their business properly because they need to structure their business so as to free their time. This is both either the management team and or the business owner themselves, depending on the size of the organization. Unless they free up their time to be able to focus on the actual growth aspects of any business, they will always be stuck where they are. Now, those that have successfully seen the light, where I've helped them, step them through it and shown them how to free up their time, those businesses are now still growing and doing extremely well, mainly because they've taken on board the fact that with either the rainmaker or the CEO or whoever the key person is that needs to be freed up to go and find new work has been then unleashed, rather than sitting tied up on the little fires that occur in every single business on a day-to-day basis. And as I said, those that have seen the light are actually doing extremely well and have, some of them have gone over 300% growth net profits. I remember one that had, I think, 300,000 net profits, and they suddenly ended up within a year and a half of me working with them over $1 million of net profit. So, when you start seeing these structures and you start implementing the systems, the efficiencies start happening and also start saving money. So yeah, so those are the key things that I look at. So I help business owners understand that one of the key reasons why you start a business is so that at any stage, if you wanted to, your business could be sold. But most importantly, the business needs to be sold without you being an integral part of the day-to-day running of the business. And those business owners that get that message, they just go, wow, never saw it this way. Yep, I understand totally why it works. And the key reason around that is, imagine if you, Bronson, wanted to buy into an engineering firm, and the engineering firm, the owner of it was stuck in the workshop on a day-to-day basis, and, got reasonably good turnover, got good stuff. But the problem is, as soon as he walks away, or she walks away, the problem is you are stuck trying to emulate what that person did. And if you don't have the same level of technical skills, that business will fail very quickly. However, if they have a proper structure in place where they've got a general manager and a project manager and whatever else that the business may need, and those people are actually running the business on a day-to-day basis, you could walk into that business anytime and just say, right, guys, I want you guys to stay on, make sure that we continue what we're doing, and all you need to learn is how to become a rainmaker and or how to run the business in a way that makes it even more profitable.
That makes me think about how, if I wanted to sell my business in 5 years' time, what are some steps that I should start thinking about to help make sure that all roads do not lead to me?
Yeah. So what you need to look at is, what is the core role of the business? In other words, what is the core of your offering to your customers, and make sure that is the first thing that is protected. Then you've got to build your structure around it to make sure that everybody is focused on making sure that the core role is continuously pushed, and made sure that the business can keep doing it. And what you need to do is you need to look at what you do and what potentially other people could do, and start handing over bits and pieces. I mean, I'm working with a client in Christchurch right now, where he's doing everything basically. And I've already said to him, give this away, give this away, give this away, helped him get the structure sorted out. And I mean, I've only just started working with him, and he's already found an additional 2 hours a week.
Nice.
And that 2 hours a week now is starting to translate into him actually being able to go and visit more potential opportunities for doing more business. Which in the beginning, I remember one of my clients many years ago, the first day I started with him, they gave me the bunch of keys to the business and said, here, you can take it away. I said, hang on, it's not my business, it's yours. I'm here to help you make sure that it works properly. Yeah, so, it is a frustrating time for many business owners. But they've put themselves there for because they are technically good at what they do, for delivering stuff for their customers. But they've never had the real training on how to structure the business to make sure that it actually becomes a business rather than another job. Coming back to your point, so around the core role that you want to deliver, you got to make sure that the people that you appoint to help you build that business of yours are key to supporting, making sure that the core role is done. But as I said earlier, that you need to be freed up so that you can do whatever you want extra on the sideline, whether it's chasing new clients or creating a new product or a new sideline for the business. As I was saying to the CEO Institute this morning, unless you talk to your customers often enough, you don't know whether you can offer them something that they're buying from somebody else. And if it's within the scope of your business and it doesn't destroy your core role of your business, why not do it? Help your customers out. They already know you, they like you, they trust you. So you might as well add the extra thing onto it.
It's a really good point. I'd be interested to hear, in your point of view, what is separating like a good business from a great business? So what are those businesses at the top 1%? What are they doing that other businesses could also start implementing?
Right. I think there's only one thing really that comes to mind immediately, and that is the fact that they engage with their staff. So in other words, all of those businesses that are doing very well have got a structure in place whereby they meet with their staff, even if it means the different levels of staffing. So obviously the management team often meet often enough because they need to discuss a lot of very important stuff. But when it comes down to the rest of the staff, management need to have regular discussions to stay on top of the changing circumstances within any business, being able to share some basic financial information with them, and most importantly, just about virtually every single, well, not every single business, but many businesses that I start off with don't have a proper vision in place. So they don't know how to pull their team with them to achieve what they need to achieve. And through this process of having these regular meetings and reinforcing what the vision is, because the vision that I've helped other businesses do is I get the whole team together and we start talking about what is the vision, what is the mission, and what are the values, and most importantly, the values that they want to see implemented in this business. All decided by the group as a whole, depending on the size of the business. If it's 2,000 or 3,000, it makes it really impossible. But you need to get your key people as well as some of your other employees involved in this process to make sure that you can get a proper vision going for a business. Once you've got that in place, and the people have actually contributed to it, you'll see a very quick change in the attitude, which then changes the culture of the organization.
Oftentimes leaders have a vision, people who start a business, like you mentioned, they have a vision, they have a direction in which they want to go in. How can we start to share that vision with people that we are working with and get them on board going into the same direction? Right.
So as I said, the most important thing is to have regular meetings. Now, it doesn't have to come up at every single meeting. I don't know, at the CEO Institute that I was speaking to this morning, that question came up, and I said, so how often do you have these type of meetings? And they said, well, they have regular monthly staff meetings. I said, well, how often do you bring this up? The vision and what you want to achieve and making sure that everybody's on board with it. And he said, yeah, often, not often enough, probably. And I said, so one of the most important things that every business owner needs to understand is that if you have a vision and it's not communicated throughout the organization, the lowest working person in your organization, when you walk up to them and ask them what the vision is, they'll probably say, got no idea, mate. And that is a disengaged person, because if they were involved in the process and were taught how to be part of the process of the vision, you'd have a far more engaged person. Because one of the big things about a vision is it's about making sure that you create community for everybody, not only the community around the business, but community inside the business. And if everybody's on board with that, you have a much more dedicated staff or force to be able to push everything that you need for your business.
Now, speaking about leaders, what are some traits that you have seen in leaders that in the top 1%, these people who are, they're leading from the front, they have a vision, they're helping guide their team and they're building their team up. What sort of traits do you see in these people that we can start to think about?
Right. So obviously the top one is empathy. So having an understanding of their staff and potential issues that lie within each individual. They don't have to know everything about every single person, but it helps to show that you actually care, that you want them to succeed. But the second thing that those that are really good at doing what they want to do is actually holding people accountable for their roles. So in other words, if you've hired somebody to do a job and they're not doing it to perfection, there are two main reasons for that not happening. A, you haven't trained them properly and shown a proper system to follow in order to get the end result, or B, you did a very bad hire. There are little wrinkles in between, but those are the two key things. And generally, a good leader will identify somebody who isn't quite up to scratch and then make plans to either redeploy them somewhere else in the business where their skill set can actually be used well, or work a way around to see if the person can be re-employed somewhere else. At the other end of it, if you want to look at it, is where business owners allow mediocrity. So, you're a super hard worker, Bronson, and I'm a slack ass, right? And I get the same salary as you. And I, do my 8 hours at the office just to collect my check. But you do your 8 hours and you do twice as much work as me. How would you feel if I don't get reprimanded by the boss, and if the boss just says, oh, you're doing a fantastic job, and there's no other incentive of either more pay and or other benefits, perks that might entice me potentially to say, oh, well, he's now got a company car. Maybe maybe I should lift my levels of work, and maybe I can get the same. You know, it's being open to opportunities like that. But empathy, I think, is one of the key leading factors in many business owners nowadays. You know, the old top-down structure of way back in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, even, you know, where you just get a ton of crap on you, even if you just step out of line. That doesn't work anymore.
I like that. I like how empathy, it really is a superpower. It's nice to hear that that is one of the key attributes in leadership nowadays. As yeah, like you just mentioned, it wasn't always one of the key things, but it's really cool to see. Well, zooming out for a little bit and looking at business as a whole in New Zealand, what are your thoughts, Karen, on where business is going? Everything's coming online nowadays. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so, you know, it's this useless government has caused enormous business problems in this country by locking businesses out and down, and you know, giving only certain businesses the right to do business. So those businesses are obviously still doing very well, but it's the general business out there that is really struggling. And what this government has done, and it's not just this government, every government around the world, with the introduction of the mandates that they've forced upon people, there's a huge problem in finding talent or good people to work in your businesses or in businesses as such. The main thing around that is the people have woken up to the idea that, hey, you can work from home and still be quite productive. And there are ways that many businesses can evolve that. The most important way to do that is to make sure that the system is in place whereby, you know, the person who's in charge of whatever project and or aspect of the business is updated in a form that makes sense to them. But that's up to the individual, you know, manager / owner on how that works. But there's obviously businesses that you have to be there. I mean, you can't get a engineering firm and try and work from home. That's impossible. So it's about making sure that people feel safe within the confines. You know, when the results of all of this stuff that's happened over the last few years eventually comes to full light, they'll see that nothing that was implemented was actually right. So we're in for a long term of challenges, because there are more and more people that are going to be struggling to find the mojo to go back to the office.
Oh, that's an interesting new challenge that has come up nowadays.
Yeah, but there's a secondary thing that's busy developing all along. It already happened partially during the 2021-2022 years of lockdown, was the supply chain issue of goods coming in. Now that has been partially solved, but the bigger issue that is coming is that the supply chain is very fragile right now, and the supply chain relies on credit. So as an example, you've got a big corporate that buys stuff from you, but they immediately put you onto a 90-day payment plan. So that means for 90 days, whatever you do for them, you don't get paid until, you know, they give you the money. So that's the credit crap. But you're running a small business and you've got to try and stay on track with, you know, your own cash flows to make sure that you can make money and survive. The other problem is you need to find the other side of the cash flow. If you're entirely caught up with the big corporates so that you don't have time to do anything else, you're going to have to borrow money for that interim period before you actually get paid. Now, central banks around the world are busy clamping down on the availability of credit. When that gets to a certain serious point, I believe that the supply chain as such around the world, and even in this country, is going to be further decimated, because suddenly people, you know, even the smaller businesses that supply to the bigger corporates, suddenly can't find the cash to stay open, unless, you know, there's a change in some form or other how payments are made to the smaller businesses that are supplying, you know, or credit made available to them. It's going to get really, really tight. So those are my two real observations currently. It's like, so the supply of human resource is going to be a real challenge in the next few years, and the supply of credit.
Those are certainly things to think about, for sure, definitely. Can you tell me about a success story that you've had? When you think about all the clients that you've had in the past, what's the one that comes to mind that you're really proud of? What was it about that? Was there something interesting or something special? What made it so memorable?
Yes, there's actually a few that stand out, but the one that is probably closest to my heart is the one client that I helped in the horticultural industry. So I've helped from hairdressers right through to the horticultural industry and all in between. So the horticultural industry, the client complained to me many years ago. Their cash flow is a real challenge, especially during winter because it's a seasonal company. So I said, well, let's see if we can change that around. And we decided on creating a strategy meeting around that. And I said to him, or to the management team, I said, bring along your ideas of different markets that you can potentially look at penetrating, and I'll bring along one or two. So we created the strategy meeting. We did. I brought up the two potential areas. They brought up some of their regular stuff, because a lot of people when they're in business have almost blinkered. It's they don't see outside the square. And one of the actually, both of them could have worked. Both industries that I brought to the table could have worked for them. But we decided to go down the one because the manager, one of the team the managers knew somebody in that specific industry. So I worked out a schedule with them, or not a schedule, but a pitch to them on what to say and see if there's an opportunity. Well, he came back from that interview and had a $4 million sale. So suddenly the cash flow problems were gone. But then the team came back and said, we've got another problem now. I said, what's that? He said, we can't supply. So I said, well, let's see if we can build up a cooperation with one of your best clients, and see what we can make an arrangement of. And they gave me the name, and I said, go and have a chat to them and ask them if they would be willing to supply this. Of course, they were more than happy. So my client got the supply, ended up with a sizable profit from all of that because of the cooperation between things. Now, the culmination of all of that is that because we built in all the structures and the systems and whatever for that business, there was another business that was interested in expanding into the Auckland area. And my clients, getting on in years, said, he was approached by them, and would I help him through the process of the sale? And I said, yeah, no problem. So we went through the negotiation bit, and he walked away with a sizable sum of money that he was more than happy in receiving, only because the business got the structure right in the way that he didn't have to be there all the time.
I really like how with a few key decisions, it can really make such a world of difference.
Yes, right. But that's a business owner that was open to the idea of talking to somebody outside of his general network to maybe even, think about different ideas.
It sounds incredibly creative, Tibor.
Oh, well, you have to be. Up to a point. Business is business. The general person out there, and this is a bad look for schools, that nobody ever gets trained how to do business when you're at school. They have that as a subject on how business really works. There'd be a lot more successful businesses out there. And I agree. And I would be out of even a job.
Wow, there will always be businesses around.
Oh yeah, well I guess every business runs into some challenges.
Yeah. What I am seeing nowadays is many people in my network, many of them people that I talk to, these business owners, especially with everything coming online nowadays. There are people who are 14, 15, 16, and they are crushing it. And it is inspiring to see. It's amazing. It's inspiring. I speak with them every day. And just seeing them fly and adapting to this new way of learning, that they're going to school, they're learning what they need to. Then after school, instead of, just like scrolling online or gaming, they are going deep into like different places on the internet to learn how to build businesses. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's very, 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 really good. I mean, you must have a select a number of people like that, because I just look at the average kids out around and that my kids associate with. No idea.
Yeah, I definitely live in a bubble. And before we go, could you tell people who are interested in business consulting, where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can contact me. Through my website. Obviously, there's links for making contact. My telephone number is 021-545-372, which is very simple. Just give me a call. And my email address is tibor@bbstrategies.co.nz. Fairly simple. And if you're really interested, I have a 1 hour complimentary chat to see if I can actually add value to their business. And based on that, so we can go forward. I will show them a roadmap of how they can actually achieve their business success.
Wow. Beautiful stuff. Tibor, thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you. Have a great day, Bronzo. Cheers.
Peace.